Yeah, Kim. Let's kick it in and talk a little bit about the NBA. Overall, let's start with the Eastern Conference.
Right.
You know, we NBA junkies. Like we general basketball junkies. So let's just start with the Eastern Conference, and then we're gonna go to the West. But we don't gotta talk about every team in the East. But let's give a few teams we like. All right, the East is top heavy, so we gotta
Yeah.
talk about the top heavy teams. We gotta talk about a little bit of trades and all that. We're gonna get into that. So basically the same. I just want you to just be like, yo, Eastern Conference. Just tell me who you looking at. You got questions, or you like, yo, what's going on here? I'm high on them, low on them. Even players in the East. So go ahead. You can kick that off, Cam. However you want to get the Eastern
So
Conference.
in the Eastern Conference of the NBA, obviously the Celtics won last year. So it makes sense to put them at the top of the list in the East. You know, they're pretty much bringing their whole team back. I don't think they lost anybody like from their rotation, like no vital pieces from their rotation.
Yeah, they brought back their whole rotation.
Yeah, so obviously you want KP to come back healthy because, you know, he had some injuries in last year's playoffs and they were still able to, you know, win the championship. But obviously I'll put them at the top because, like we said, they're bringing their whole rotation back. Same coach, all of that. Everything's pretty much the same. So I think it's another one of those seasons where, kind of like you said about the Liberty, it's their championship to lose. Like, I think we kind of felt like that in the finals last year in the NBA with the Mavericks and the Celtics. It was like the Mavericks was able to work their way through the Western Conference and get to the finals, but I think realistically most people was like, Celtics is the better team. All they have to do is play like they're the better team and they should win, which they did. But I think with them bringing everybody back and kind of keeping everything in motion, I would put them at the top of the list. The next team that I feel like...
Hey, Cam, I want to add one thing with the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
I like the pickup. I know the dude is inconsistent, but Lonnie Walker is a good pickup.
Yeah. Honestly, I forgot about, like, I remembered it like last week or
pickup.
something. And that, honestly, I forgot. I think we talked about it. It might have been on the last episode of season 1. And I was talking about Lonnie Walker. And I'm like, literally, maybe not in like the finals or the conference finals, but like the first 2 rounds, he'll probably have a really good game that can get y'all a win. So I was like, if you have a guy like that coming off the bench or whatever, it's I think because when he was on the Lakers, he did it. I think it was that series the year before against Golden State. He just had a game where he went off for like, I think it was like 20 something. And he was just locked in, knocking down threes, getting to the rim. And he's one of those dudes that I don't understand why he's been such a journeyman, because I'm like, he's a solid player. Like, he plays hard. He works hard on defense. Defensively, he's added a lot to his game. Like, even when he was with the Spurs, I seen the potential then. I just think their team wasn't that good at the moment, so he wasn't getting a lot of shine. He wasn't getting a lot of notoriety. When I feel like when he went to the Lakers, he kind of showcased his offensive ability for especially, and I think that was a great pickup for them. Like, adding him to that rotation won't be hard because he's gonna pretty much just take open shots. He's gonna attack the rim and he's gonna play defense. So it's like, with a team like that, that's only gonna help their team overall. So I'm glad you brought that up. That was definitely a good pickup.
Yeah. I like that. I like that Lonnie Walker pickup because now you could give Drew Holiday they older guys. Drew Holiday could have some nights off where you just be like, Lonnie, we need you to, because he's a pretty good defender. I think the only knock I had on Lonnie, I'm in Lonnie Town area. They love Lonnie Walker out here, and I tell people, like, I don't have a problem with Lonnie Walker. It's just every way he's inconsistent. Like, so like he'll have, like, for the Lakers, he did it with us in San Antonio. He'll go 25, maybe 2 games in a row, and then he'll just
Have
give
an
you
off
7.
game.
He'll be
Yeah.
like, and that's what always separates people from becoming that skill sets and game, yes, he's a
Yeah,
great pickup.
it's definitely there. But after the Celtics, I got the Knicks on my list. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the trade with
Hold on,
Steven.
Cam. Hold on. Hey, what Big L said? Well, he said, I might quote Big L wrong. He said, I'm from New York and never been a fan of the Knicks. I've never been a fan of the Knicks. I'm going to give them that. They got a good ass team, though. They
Yeah,
got a good
but
team.
and that's the thing. Like, and when I have these teams on here, I mean, honestly, I didn't even put them in any type of particular order. I was just writing them down as the teams came into my mind. Then like the latter part, obviously I had to look up like, all right, this, basically like the normal bottom teams. But with the Knicks, like obviously we're gonna talk about the trade with Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle going to Minnesota for Cat. But I think regular season wise, and that's what I was getting to. This list is just based off regular season. Like this is not about who's going to make the playoffs or what type of run they're going to have. This is strictly just like rankings for regular season. So I feel like the Knicks are going to be a team that's going to be a really good regular season team. Like realistically, I give them a chance to get a number one seed if the Celtics is kind of like taking it easy on their star players and their role guys as far as the season prolongs, because you want them to get rest. Because obviously, if you're going to finals and conference finals and stuff like that back to back years and stuff, you want to make sure your guys are fresh. So I think the Celtics will probably have the approach more so like resting guys, where Tibbs ain't resting nobody. We already know how that's gonna go. Tibbs ain't resting nobody.
Hell
Tibbs
no.
is gonna play everybody as much minutes as he can, which everybody knows that with Tibbs. He's never changed. He's every team he's coached, it's been like that. So I think with the Knicks, like regular season wise, I think they got a good chance to have a really good record. But I think it's like when the playoffs come, it's like because everyone talks about Cat, spreading the floor and things like that. But the only issue I really have with him is he settles a lot. Because
Yep.
I remember vividly, I think it was after one of the Knicks preseason games where I think Cat played well, and it was people basically in the comments saying Cat's gonna settle for jumpers and Julius Randle bangs more and stuff like that. But realistically, that was my issue with Julius Randle his whole NBA career. His shot selection, and he settles too much. And I think for a while that was like a player that comes to mind too, Jason Tatum. He's a guy that's a lot of times, especially later on in the game, he starts to settle for long twos and threes. And it's like, especially for Julius Randle, especially on the Knicks, I've always hated his shot selection since he's been in New York. I think him going to Minnesota, I think that'll kind of help him in his game as far as like, you're not the guy, Ant's the guy. So he'll dictate the offense more. I don't think Julius Randle spreads the floor like a Cat does, but at the same time, Cat likes to just hang out on the perimeter. So I think, like I said, the Knicks will be good in the regular season, but when the playoff comes and it's a series and teams have multiple games to game plan for you, I think they'll bait Cat into just taking a lot of jump shots or take a lot of threes, which I don't think that's going to help them because the Knicks don't have the size to rebound. And I know Mitchell Robinson, he's still trying to make his way back from injury. And I'm trying to think they might have picked up another big that I don't remember who, like, because it's probably a
Probably,
younger.
you talking about either Sims, which I don't, he's still, he's going to play, and Precious Achua is the other guy you're probably thinking about.
Yeah,
He's not
and it's like,
too big, but he has to play
yeah,
big.
and I don't think they're gonna have enough size inside to, especially on the defensive end, just protecting the rim and rebounding. I think they're gonna struggle, and when you have issues like that, they definitely expose themselves when the playoffs comes. Maybe even in the regular season, I think it'll happen at times, but I think they'll be able to navigate it during the regular season. But when the playoffs come, I think that's going to be a big issue. I mean, hopefully when the playoffs come, Mitchell Robinson will be, healthier, and, he'll be able to help on, rebounding and defending the rim. But I think losing Isaiah Hartenstein hurt him a bit, just from what I just said, like the size, the rebounding, the defense. But I still give him a good shot in the regular season, having a good record.
Yeah, they definitely gonna have a good record. See, the thing with Nick, to be honest, Cam, that trade with Minnesota for the Knicks and Minnesota, I personally think both team won. In my opinion, both team won in the trade. It depends how you look at. Everybody think Knicks probably won it. I think both team won, but time will tell. I think that the only knock I got on the Knicks right now is probably, are you building your team too much to try to beat the Celtics? Like, when that happens, usually when teams try to replicate teams to beat one team, it usually don't work out as great. Because you remember at one point, everybody was trying to replicate a team to beat the Warriors. Like, the Rockets did it. Like, so that's my only
Yeah,
thing. Other than that, I think they put a great little group of guys that, I said little group of guys. Well, grown men that could play. I think they all fit. The only question becomes now, who becomes that bona fide second option when Cat gets soft? Is it OG, or like is it Mikal Bridges? So it's like one of those they have to find out. But I mean, the preseason it looked like it was OG from some of the preseason games I watched. But that's something I think they will need to find out as the season go on, because there will be games like you said, Cam, where Cat is just gonna settle, just like he did in the postseason, and we know that's just who he is as a player. He's just gonna settle, and your jump shot not gonna always go in, or you're gonna duck your head and go to the basket. And he's 95% of the time, Cat is not gonna do that. He's not gonna duck his head and just be like, "Yo, I'm gonna will myself to get some buckets." And Tibbs is really not. Tibbs is a great defensive coach. We all know that. But to get somebody like easy buckets, that's not really Tibbs' forte. Because we
yeah,
seen Julius Randle struggling to get buckets in the playoffs, and you like, yo, why Tibbs is not running a play that gives Julius Randle something way easier where he don't have to work too hard. So that's how I feel about the Knicks. Other than that,
yeah. I definitely agree. Tibbs is not really an offensive minded coach, or that's not like his forte. He's always been known for his defense, which I think with the Knicks, with guys like OG, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart, guys like that, their wing defenses, their perimeter defense should be really, really good. I think the interior defense might lack a little bit, but with those type of guys on the wings, you're definitely gonna be I'll give him like a top 10 defense for sure. But I just think it's one of those things where, again, even with Jalen Brunson, it's like you my height. When the playoffs come, they're gonna game plan for you, bro. Obviously, last year was his first year in the playoffs as like a number one guy. And then, because I think, what was it, the series against Philly, he struggled in the beginning and kind of picked it up later on in the series. But it's another thing when you have a small guard like that and that's like your go-to scoring option, it's going to get stagnant, and it's gonna get tough in those playoff situations. Like I said, regular season, you're playing a different team, each game. So, the defensive looks will look different each night that you play. But once you get to the playoffs and teams can game plan for you, and they have the personnel that, can guard, it's like, bro, you're an undersized guard. They don't have to find a bunch of it ain't like they got to find a bunch of long defenders to guard you. Like, obviously, if they have them, they're gonna put them to use. But if you're 5'11" or whatever Brunson is, it's like dudes are gonna, who are more average size players, they're gonna be able to use their length to bother you. Which I think he kind of saw a little bit of that in that Philly series. But at the same time, it's like he was able to figure it out and kind of find his way. But I think, like you said, it's more so on who outside of him is gonna solidify themselves in what position? Like you said, a second option, the third option, whatever the case. But it's like on paper, it looks good. So we just gotta kind of see how that plays out. So next on the list, the 76ers. So again, man, it's another one of those teams where like I want to have faith in them, but I just can't. Like I really like, and obviously I got them. I'd say because like I said, this list isn't in any order, but I would give them a top 4 team in the East for sure. But I just think like we all just found out Joel's not playing back to backs, which in my mind is crazy. But with his injury history, I understand it. But at the same time, it's like how you really gonna like obviously because I gotta think how many back to backs most teams play, and it's like I think it'll be some back to backs depending on who they're playing, where he might still play a back to back here and there. But it's like that's chemistry, bro. You're the star. You need games with your they got a bunch of new guys. Even like I've been watching a lot of their preseason, and obviously I haven't seen well obviously Joel's probably wasn't going to play at all. I don't think I've seen any clips of him in the preseason. I think Paul George and Maxey played a little bit, but like Kelly Oubre and KJ Martin and who they got, Caleb Williams, guys like that, I think it's going to be important for them to get minutes with Joel on the floor. Like certain guys, I feel like it's vital for them to get minutes on the floor with Joel, with Paul George, with Maxey, just to build that chemistry. And I feel like Philly is just always one of those teams that never can get over the hump. And I think it's because it's like if you're a star player, it's like the Clippers with Kawhi. Like if you can't stay healthy consistently, it's hard for your team to build chemistry with you. It's like, and that's why I said it's like I still think they're gonna be a good team in the regular season, but it's like once the playoffs come, that chemistry and all of that, that's gonna come in handy when you got to play a team 6 or 7 games, and it's like okay, they're kind of figuring out how to guard you or what you want to do and this and that. So it's like I think the Sixers is one of those teams that a lot of people are high on them, but they're still waiting to see how it actually unfolds once the season starts and we actually see y'all playing it. Like preseason, for the most part, if starters play, it's probably going to be the first and second quarter, and then that's pretty much it for most, especially a team like Philly with Joel and Paul George, who has extensive injury history. So it's like, even like I said with the Joel thing with no backs, not playing back to back, like I don't approve of it, but at the same time, it's like he hasn't shown he could be healthy through a whole season. So it's like, why not, kind of make that the rule for him because it's proven itself. Like you can't name a season where he hasn't been hurt. Like that's just what it is. And I know he's going to be wearing a brace this year, which is something I know he kind of tried to stay away from in previous seasons, but he basically just, he admitted that he has no other choice at this point. Like he knows he's got to wear a knee brace or it's going to get worse. So that's just what it is. I think even with the Sixers, like adding Paul George, like he's another guy where I think once him and Tyrese Maxey kind of figure out how to play with each other, I think their backcourt will be well. Is Paul George still a shooting guard or a small forward?
Man, right now with the lead, how the lead is set up, Paul George is probably a 2 to 4. Like he could probably play two
Yeah,
guard to power forward. So I don't
but
know. It depends how Philly look at him, but I will always look at Paul George as a small forward. That's just me, but
yeah, that's
depends
how I
how Philly
always
gonna
looked
play
at
him.
him. Yeah, that's how I always looked at him like a small forward. But it's like I think if Paul George can take some of the ball handling responsibility off of Maxey, I think they'll definitely flourish together. I think Joel's gonna do what he normally does, score in the post, shoot his mid range, some threes. Yeah, I just hope he looks better than he did in the Olympics outside of, I think it was like the gold medal game or something like that where he played pretty consistent the whole game. But like when I was seeing him in the Olympics early on, I'm like, he don't look healthy. He look out of shape. And that's the thing. It's like every time he plays, I feel like somebody mentions like, oh, he looks out of shape, or he's moving slow, or he's limping, and I don't think he's ever really been fully healthy. Like realistically, I don't think he's ever been fully healthy. I don't think he'll ever get fully healthy. That's just my opinion. Just because it's been too consistent with the injuries over, the span of time he's been in Philly. So, like I said, I got them in the top 4 position, but again, like especially in the Eastern Conference, I think a lot of these teams are good regular season teams, but when the playoffs come is where they're really gonna struggle a little bit when they kind of lack in certain